as well.
Yeah, Excel taking away all the globals that Origen used yesterday with the Karthus ban, because I'm a big believer in the Karthus at the moment. Me and Yamato were talking about it a little bit earlier on the desk too, thinking it does well in a lot of matchups, but really it looks supreme up against Sejuani. Sejuani, a champion that Caedrel piloted yesterday. So then, where does Sejuani sort of fit into this draft when there are still the Gragases of the world open, Jarvan, Lee Sin, all these power picks on 10-2 still carrying over and up and available?
Yeah, definitely the case. And we've seen a number of set, first picks and lots of high priority. He's open and available with Aphelios, finding himself in the last ban. And
yes,
we have Soraka after Yamato's passionate speech earlier at which you threw bananas at him, is now first pick by Origen.
Yeah, it's because I love Soraka. Like, all you haters out there just don't understand how cool this champion is when it fits into a composition. Like, yes, it's really frustrating to play against, but watching it can be exciting in its own way because it allows you to build these compositions that almost never die. You take her hyper scaling into the late game, and that's where she's going to offer so much value.
Hyper scaling, late game, coordination, teamwork, all the elements required to make Soraka work. Pretty much like quintessential hallmarks of this Origen roster.
Yeah, what is it, like motivation, work improvement team. That's the one.
That's how it works, and Soraka is the embodiment of that philosophy. The response on the other side, a very deliberate phase 1 draft here. It's the MF and then using the full clock for the Jarvan. So they hovered the set for a little bit, but going unpicked this time around.
Yeah, so already setting up sort of that combination to trap people inside the Cataclysm for that bullet time. Now, the one thing about the Soraka is that we don't necessarily know it's always going into the top lane. We've actually seen it pop up around as a bot lane pick, not as a support pick, but like in the AD carry position. So we'll still wait and see where that one falls at the end of the draft. The silence can be super deadly when combined with a support that offers a whole lot of CC. Of course, that means you're going to need damage elsewhere in your composition. So at the moment, I'm still expecting this to be Alphari leaning for this Origen draft.
Yeah, definitely the case. And with that Gragas locked in, this weekend we've seen a couple of like Gragas Yasuo combos. Gragas was locked in. Yasuo found himself banned away earlier today. Don't really know if that's going to be the preferred options, but to match that Nautilus, which I'm expecting to go in the bottom lane for Destiny, is going to be Tora's Braum.
Yeah, I'm almost surprised that Origen didn't go for the Braum themselves, not only because there's misfortune on the enemy team, but also when Braum is left open for Excel, that's very good into Gragas. The Unbreakable can, of course, block the cast, so he can't get any of those knockbacks on towards you. But also, when you have a Soraka in your comp, you tend to want to play backwards in team fights, whereas Nautilus is a support that would much more prefer to go in. So I think a Braum would have slotted in very well for an Origen style of draft here. Regardless, though, it will be this Nautilus, which allows them to play more around the bot lane, which is also makes some sense when Soraka, if she's top lane, she doesn't really need all that much help.
And I think for the most part, Destiny's look pretty good on those like initiation or like, stepping forward type support, so I quite like that. The Rumble was banned away to remove that spicy hot pot combo, Cataclysm, Equalizer, as well as Bullet Time. And then there was the Yasuo finds himself in the ban pool as well. So I think that's the second time I've seen that today.
Yeah, so Excel are banning away 2 AD mid laners here because there is a Gragas on the enemy team and they're expecting it to be Soraka top. So Origen desperately need physical damage to come from Nukeduck. Like, yes, Upset's going to be able to offer some of that.
No. I'm getting excited.
Don't get too excited on that Zed pick.
No, of course not. Of course not.
I mean, it still has to be blind. So, like, we've seen Nukeduck go for the Tristana in the past. The Corki, even though that's going to be magic damage too. So.
Yeah. So what is, dude, now you've got the
need physical damage, like, badly, especially with this Kai'Sa. Oh, I love this. This is Camille. Okay, so it could be Camille mid, it could be Camille top, right? We still have that possibility. I think that Origen want that to follow around the Aatrox, right? So if this is going to be an Aatrox in the top lane, that's where the Camille will go, would be my expectation, depending on what Mickey goes for himself, because Camille really does like that 1v1.
Now let's talk about what the implications would be. If you move that Soraka from top to mid, we know the 1v1 Camille Aatrox will be good. Let's see what this mid lane lock-in for Mickey's going to be, and it will be the Azir. So if you assume, obviously, Soraka is now going mid, what do you make of the comps?
Yeah, so this becomes really interesting now because, like, we've only really seen Soraka be in the top lane so far, but I do believe that it is going to be Camille top to fall around the Aatrox. Camille not going to be super happy laning up against the Azir in the mid lane, so what Soraka should be primarily doing is just, similar things to what she would do in the top lane, but she's definitely not going to be that same level of a lane bully. So it's going to be queuing to wave clear as opposed to looking for the poke, which you would normally expect to see out of that top lane Soraka.
Okay, a very, very interesting pivots here in the draft. And it's very fun, a different look as far as the competition goes, but fundamentally in terms of how it's going to work together, I still think sort of leans towards OG's playstyle.
Yeah, well, OG have done something really, really different here, because when you see Soraka, you think a comp that wants to go back, but they put 4 champions that want to go forward alongside it. So they do still have the ability to go heavy dive and seek out Mickey, seek out Patrik in these fights. That's what the battle is going to be the later we get into this game. Will Alphari and Upset be able to dive in and assassinate the XL backline?
I mean, when you add into the combination the other side with Jarvan, Aatrox, Braum, all that kind of can have the ability to hop forward, I think we're going to have some very exciting team fights. And if you can get an advantage early, I think both of these team comps have got the tools to maintain that lead, to push it further to their advantage.
Yeah, obviously we'll be looking at how these junglers can really make an impact early, but Caedrel has a lot of things he can do in this early game to disrupt. This is going to be a really good one, Quickshot.
Well, let's see what Caedrel and Xerxe can do as OG take on XL. Welcome back to the penultimate game as OG will be taking on XL. We will get that overlay updated for you in a moment as the Berlin crowd seem to have become schizophrenic and are watching a completely different
They're
game.
a little confused, Quickshot.
But they have found themselves and rectified. Now, you mentioned what Caedrel could do in the early game, but what do you think of this cheeky play? Using Mickey pushing Nukeduck back ever so slightly and setting up for a potential level 1.
Yeah, I mean, you always have the Braum level 1 that you can try to make some things happen with. Now, XL aren't starting with a sweeper, so on either their jungler or support, which is a little bit different because when we actually had Caedrel on the desk a couple weeks ago, he talked about how when you want to look for a level 1 invade play, oftentimes as a jungler, you will just go ahead and pick up a sweeper yourselves. But now OG are just trying to scout it out. This could get really fun. If OG look for a late invade, oh my god, they're going to walk straight into him.
This is so scary. This is so scary. Xerxe gets caught up by the Winter's Bite. Nukeduck lands the Q. Literally, I was like waiting to ramp up. And there wasn't any further follow-up. You can't get that stun from the Braum passive, and therefore OG are able to escape with their lives.
Yeah, also Torre is like being called down to bot lane by Patrik there too, so XL decide, no, we don't have to necessarily commit forward for this fight. Getting Gragas to start E is already going to be suboptimal. He, of course, when he's starting on those single target camps, gets a lot of value out of taking W for that max HP damage, especially when he's on the solo clear too. So this will slow him down just a tad, and Caedrel is already looking for the level 2 play.
Let's see whether or not the Smite fight will go Caedrel's way. It doesn't. Xerxe's already there. The Flag and Drag does not find the knock-up. A little belly bop to the face of Caedrel sends him packing, but he's forcing Xerxe again, delaying his impact, slowing down the clear. And now Caedrel's going to make his way out of the jungle.
See, I actually think that's pretty favorable to Xerxe. He didn't take a whole lot of damage and also paid mind to Caedrel's mana bar. Lost a lot on that clear, so he's going to have to go straight over to his blue buff, which was warded by the OG bot lane. That's going to last for a little while, so he will be spotted out on that buff. At the same time, Mickey placed a ward over that wall too, so both junglers know where the other is. And this means that Xerxe should be comfortable to go ahead and take his red buff here, especially with the priority he's getting out of his bot lane.
All right, so now if you zoom out a little bit, then obviously Xerxe impacted a little bit right at the beginning. Caedrel's decision-making, maybe sort of balancing out that differential, and Xerxe will be able to clear the Bramble back in a moment. And Caedrel, as he's being spotted up by the ward, means Origen have all the information to play with, and we're going to see how the rest of this laning phase plays out. XL pushing in the mid lane, and Origen pushing top and bottom. You can see the wave crashing into Patrik and Torre. Just as Upset is backed up.
Yeah, so it's pretty expected, I think, for Nukeduck to get shoved in a little bit in this lane. You can see that Mickey even went for the Electrocute rune as well for a little bit of extra poke, something you sometimes see the Azirs do, especially in these range type of matchups. But what I think XL would love to have happen is Mickey able to use this push in order to open up Caedrel to, again, look to be a little bit more aggressive, right? He could potentially look for a double Scuttle Crab, or after taking that topside one, scout out the enemy jungle by popping the Vision Plant there too.
Okay, so we'll keep our eyes now. Jungler's starting to hit level 4 now. First backs and teleports coming in. We haven't seen Alphari and Expect going toe-to-toe just yet. Just to quickly set some expectations, Alphari currently has 399 professional kills in the LEC. So if he picks up just one this game, he will ding that 400 and maybe we'll see some pot.
Did you double check that math? You sure?
I did indeed. This is some quick math on stage. Makes me a little nervous when I have to add them up, but I can do the single digits there.
Okay, good to know. Speaking of Alphari, I do think it's important to bring up, like, he just got an early reset off, has the double Dorian's Blade in a matchup that's already going to be pretty favorable early on, but the later this matchup gets, the better it will be for OG, especially when we look at how do they get into a side lane, right? Alphari on this Camille isn't going to have a champion on the enemy team that can really match him all too well. At best, I think Mickey is going to be able to wave clear with the TP under his turret, but it's not like he'll ever be able to get the push priority over an Alphari, who's already looking strong. And remember that he will also have Soraka's ultimate in any 1v1 too, so like there actually is turret dive potential for him in a side.
It actually is one of those like terminologies, like 1v1. Yeah, technically it's one champion versus one champion, but there's an extra ability that can come from anywhere.
Yeah, with Soraka's heal, it's like a 1.5v1, you know?
That's the way I like to think of it as well. And you saw in the trading pattern how Alphari, with that hook shot and the precision protocol, plus the passive shield, really winning out against Expect. Xerxe popped up to that top lane, just shadowing him for a moment or two as the wave was pushing forward. And Alphari has now continued to shove that wave in. He's the only one at the minus CS lead. In the mid lane, Mickey's still out farming again, as expected in these early stages. And I'm waiting to see where either Xerxe or Caedrel can find their first impact. Caedrel's now sniffing around in the top lane.
Yeah, this is a decent opportunity for him. Has to keep in mind that Expect being 50% HP could mean a counter gank would be pretty rough. And he hasn't seen Xerxe on the map for quite a while. So it seems like it's going to be holding patterns for the majority of this early game. Like, both teams are comfortable taking the scaling game. I do think that I would favor OG's comp slightly, primarily because of the fact that they have a really strong split push, but also like pretty good team fight with the Soraka and Kai'Sa coming online.
Oh, Alphari's doing so much damage. The Hextech ultimatum is available and has just been thrown down. Wish has just been unlocked. Nukeduck may need to push that button. He's going to hold on to it because with the support from Mickey, it's going to be first blood to Excel.
Ooh, Excel have to be super happy with that right there. Caedrel been waiting around, waiting to see if Alphari would get over aggressive. Turns out Alphari ticks over to 6 and wants to make that play, but the biggest winner has to be Mickey in this mid lane. This is the late game scaling insurance that Excel were waiting for, and it's not even like he loses all that much. He's able to get back into mid lane right as that minion wave crashes in towards the tower and maintain his CS lead, so beautiful spot for him to be in right now.
Very, very nicely done, especially because we saw just how much pressure Expect was under. Like, Alphari was shoving that wave in, was winning multiple trades. And of course now, thanks to the fact that Expect has been helped out, he's got a minus CS advantage, at least until Alphari catches that wave. But I did respect the fact that Nukeduck held on to that wish. It was a 3v1. The cooldown would absolutely have been wasted in that regard. Kill would have gone down, maybe bought a couple extra seconds, but nevertheless, it'll be available for the next skirmish, the next engage, maybe the next time Xerxe wants to look for some opportunity to get involved.
Yeah, well, he does want to get involved on this one. A little bit surprising there, but he has Soraka behind him. This could turn into a fight. They want to go for it.
They're going to look forward indeed. Alphari's jumping onto Caedrel, no ultimate available to him. That will force out Caedrel's flash, so that's already a minor win. Note, Caedrel just leveled up to 6, a 2-level advantage temporarily over Xerxe, so that early game decision-making is benefiting Caedrel's Jarvan right now.
Yep, winning the fight over Crab, definitely going to help there too. And you can see that with the push in mid and bot lane, it's now about getting a little bit deeper vision. They know Xerxe was on the top side of the map, so the bot lane of Patrik and Tori walked up to scout and see if there was a control ward in that tri-brush. Now Caedrel can very easily take this Drake for himself, and the best part about starting it up on this specific timer is that Rift Herald hasn't even spawned onto the map, and even if it had, they have vision in that topside river too. So Excel are going to be able to easily to pick up this objective and just say, we're going to maintain a slight lead over you for this early game because OG frankly don't have a lot of tools to operate when Soraka mid is going to get pushed in 24/7.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I think if you're Origin, as long as you can maintain this sort of difference, don't let it snowball ahead, I think you're still going to be fairly comfortable. But you can't afford to concede more and more, and of course with the Rift Herald looking like it's going to go unsecured here, that will be a tool to unlock some plates and make up this goal difference.
Well, I actually think it's a really big deal too that OG are able to get this one, and the reason isn't necessarily that Caedrel was spotted bot side taking Dragon. The reason is Destiny got his reset off in bot lane and sprinted straight up towards the top side of the map. Tora and Patrik still stuck down there, and this is a really good sign because one of the problems I saw in Origin's play, especially in their game versus Misfits, was the lack of coordination between Destiny and Nukeduck and Xerxe. The support mid jungle trio needs to be on point to play, especially comps that need to accelerate in the mid game. So to just see Destiny be mindful of the fact that, hey, if I go up towards the top side of the map, now we can get this Herald for that trade. And
that is sort of what you would expect from the organization and from the team, you know, whether that's his call, whether it's the team call, making sure they understand the pressure. And while we've got a moment, Ender, did you cast Origen yesterday? I feel like you did.
I did cast Origen yesterday.
I feel like if I remember you and Dracos talking yesterday, there was a sub-story around how Nukeduck will never be able to retire until he's played every champion in the game.
I think I did say that.
Is that something that we heard? So this is the first time that Nukeduck has played Soraka, and this brings him to 53 unique champions LEC all time. The Champion Ocean, while we have memed it a lot, that is phenomenal to me. 53 unique champions. As there's a couple extra circles being thrown.
Yeah, he's like throwing the star calls around all over the place. Like, he ganked our set. No, dude, Nukeduck kind of out of control, if I'm being honest. The amount of champions the guy can play, it's no joke. I mean, obviously we make it a joke because we talk about how many champs he can play, as Patrik clears that one out with the bullet time.
Now we need to see what impact it's going to have as this game plays out. It's a 1,500 gold lead to XL. They've got themselves a Mountain Drake as well. And of course that Rift Herald is still sitting in the inventory of Xerxe. So let's look forward a few minutes. Destiny is in the river, can come here to back up Xerxe, and we've got our first big skirmish. Line will catch up to Caedrel, manages to get the boop on top. Upset jumps in, and despite the Cataclysm coming down, it is the 400th kill for Alphari as he secures it for OG.
Yeah, good stuff out of Alphari right there, abusing the teleport advantage. Caedrel walks into the enemy jungle without having that TP up top side. Expect just waiting for that one to take over. So Alphari gets his 400th kill, and now OG are going to cash in on some of this plate money.
Man, it just looked so clean and so smooth. Gets 2 of those plates already, but with Mickey, Patrik and Toure around, they're going to be able to clear this wave out. We are aware of the little yellow circles popping up on your screen and working to disable them. I think our touch screen is just a little dirty or something as it keeps popping up. But
like there's some Yordles dropping them around or something.
Exactly. But look, that goal difference changed. But now, if we look at the bigger picture, a couple of plates secured, 4 expect up in the top lane. He's got a CS advantage, and he's going to be able to back away with this right now. I mean, this Aatrox starting to look fairly farmed up and fairly comfortable. This could prove to be a little problematic, but it's just a matter of time before Alphari's Camille can, you know, continue to pick up.
Yeah, Alphari was able to pick up quite a bit of gold off of this play as well. You can see Mickey goes pretty deep, and then Caedrel goes for the engage onto Destiny. Destiny with the Q interrupts the knock up there, so Caedrel really didn't think that was going to happen. Alphari with the TP advantage too means that the rest of XL just have to back away from that play, so not necessarily factoring in everything that was at play in the moment cost XL a kill right there. And if we actually look at the gold between these two teams, while yes, Expect picked a lot of plate money up, it's going to be dead even because of that kill that Alphari was able to secure.
Yeah, I mean, the big difference here is going to be Mickey 1,000 up over his opposite number. Everyone else is really within touching distance. Keeping a close eye here. Alphari is nearby, and so is Caedrel. So if Alphari completes this TP, there could be problems. Ups and Destiny backed away. Literally, as I start building up the tension, they immediately fall back, maybe realizing didn't have the vision, had spotted out multiple members of XL, and don't put themselves in a contentious position. The last time there was a skirmish around the crab, it was XL that got the better of it, got the experience, they got a Caedrel ahead. He now is a level behind Xerxe, so just that quickly, the tables have turned.
Yeah, and even bigger too, like the finished item for Xerxe going to be a big deal, but XL for the most part doing very well in the level department. You can see even Expect has a lead down here in the bot side. But in terms of itemization, I do think it's quite important that we look back at this mid lane and how Nukeduck has finished off that Athene's Unholy Grail. But the big thing here is that Athene's is really cheap, especially compared to Luden's Echo. So the fact that Mickey has the big CS lead, has the first blood as well in his inventory, means that he's been able to keep up one item to one item, which is going to be nice for him.
Yeah, and I think Caedrel steps in there, steals that blue buff away from under the nose of Upset and Destiny. While that's going on, they cannot even defend the top tower, so Tower First Blood will be picked up here in favor of XL. I can see that Xerxe and Alphari are rushing down in the bottom lane.
TP.
They're now starting a fight with Expect. The ultimatum is thrown down, and Expect will flash away. He stays alive, 200 HP. The tower's helping out. Expect outplays the 2v1. The teleport I thought was interrupted or cancelled, and finally Expect goes down. The wish was needed to save his life.
Yeah, now Excel are running towards the mid lane. Destiny here, though, to try and dissuade. How hard do Excel want to go? It looks like the call is going to be to back away now that the minion wave has gone. It is still Excel with the first tower, but OG were able to fire back big time.
Yeah, I wonder if Nukeduck using that Equinox, I think he may have silenced Mickey's TP.
For sure.
It from completing, but nevertheless Expect survived long enough to outplay and give XL the time they needed to chip away at this mid tower.
Oh, it's so close to going down. I thought that was like the perfect window for them too, because you know that a lot of OG members were towards the bot side of the map. Turret plating just went down, so if there was ever an opportunity to break that mid lane tower, that was going to be it. Still should just be a little tap on it, so they can get that the next time.
So yesterday, Origen pick up a convincing win, and now they're starting to fall behind, but looking at the minimap, you can see the mid lane siege, and this is expected.
So watch this. I think Alphari gets creep blocked here, because he like stutter steps. He couldn't walk forward there to get towards Expect. Not that would have made a huge amount of difference there, as in the end, it is going to be a flash blown by Alphari and Xerxe to finish off the kill, but a minor inconvenience for him, to be sure.
Exactly as anticipated. Nukeduck interrupts the TP. That could have turned it around. That could have been kills for Expect, and Mickey had it completed. But while we were looking at that replay, the second Rift Herald spawns and is now picked up by Origen. They got the first. That's what sort of equalized the gold difference. But for every punch that Origen have thrown, XL have been ready. They still maintain a healthy 2 and a bit thousand gold lead. But now what can Origen do with this next Rift Herald? Can they start clawing back this difference?
Yeah, that's going to be the thing for OG now, because for the first 15 minutes of the game, it was always OG, or rather Excel, sort of pressing their advantage, mainly because of the fact they had so much priority coming through from Mickey in this mid lane. But the best news to happen to OG is now the fact that like a lot of these side lane towers are down. They can stop thinking about playing all 3 lanes at the same time and instead group Nukeduck up with the rest of the team, because Soraka doesn't want to be in her own 1v1 anymore. She's building support items. She doesn't necessarily need all that solo gold. She wants to be able to funnel more resources onto Alphari, onto Upset, so that's going to be the goal for OG in the next few minutes, to able to snowball Upset and Alphari towards their first completed items.
And of course Upset has just picked up the Storm Razors. Nukeduck's been sitting on that Athenes for a little while. Caedrel and Patrik are now caught inside the jungle, stuck around simply for too long. Patrik gets caught up by the Nautilus ultimate, and Toure is now going to start to move away. Patrik forced to flash over the wall. That felt a little bit too bold to me, and XL get punished.
He's just so greedy once again from Caedrel. This is not a very characteristic mistake that he is making with his team going very deep inside the jungle. Now it is OG's turn to knock out this mid lane tower. Everything they could have possibly hoped for. Get a kill onto the enemy jungler, and now they regain so much more control over this map. This is the first turret they've gotten, and they do get it.
Yeah, eventually. It felt a little touch and go there with those Sand Soldiers. But let's talk a little bit about the OG scaling, and they're still 1,500 gold behind. Do you start to get worried if it stays at this point, or are Origen still in a comfortable position as we're now moving into this, mid-game phase?
I think OG are fine at the moment. Now, I think Excel's comp really comes online around 2 items, like when you consider like the Azir with 40% CDR, assuming that he's going to be running like now that he's getting Nashor's Tooth, like that'll top off at 40%. Patrik, once he finishes off his Infinity Edge, more than likely coming through. Like their wombo combo AoE burst damage in a team fight is going to be super, super high. So assuming they can execute on that, isolate Nukeduck primarily first in these fights and remove the healing from OG, they're looking really, really good. But OG will continue to get stronger and stronger, especially in side lanes the later we go.
So here's a replay of Caedrel, Patrik, and Toure starting to move forward.
Wait, did he didn't even get the red buff.
Out. No.
Xerxe picked that one up, and then he just gets slammed on. And I have to assume he didn't know Alphari was there, and that's why he's going for this aggressive play. But all in all, that would have been an opportunity where they didn't need to invade. They could just put down the vision, back away, as opposed to going for the smite fight.
And this time round, we go to the red side red buff battle. And Patrik picked that one up with the double up. So he manages to steal that one away.
Honestly, it's just Infernal Map baiting everyone right now. They're like, the walls are down, we see the buff, let's go.
I actually heard you talk a little bit about like Infernal Map and how it impacts the different team comps. What do you make of it this time around? Because I can kind of see pros and cons for both sides, really.
So I would assume that Infernal map benefits OG a little bit more in this game, primarily because Excel's comp has a lot of like zone control in it, so having more terrain just benefits you. So if there's a fight in the jungle, you want more walls sort of like box in your opponent so that exactly so the Jarvan ult has more value, the Azir wall can maybe block the full zone, like all of these things do play a factor. Whereas when I look at OG's team fight, it's going to be much more spread out. It's about like Alphari coming in around on a flank trying to find a Patrik or a Mickey in the back line. It's about Upset hitting frontline until he sees his opportunity to go in as well. So it's much more variable on OG's side, and therefore they don't really need those sort of like walls as much as the XL comp relies on it.
I'm looking forward to seeing how these next Dragon fights play out. 30 seconds till the next Infernal. Nash's Tooth completed for Mickey, and the Redemption picked up for Nukeduck on the other side. Both AD carries still working towards their big ticket second item, but there is a stopwatch in Upset's back pocket as well as Xerxe's. And Destiny's actually combined that with their ability to dive forward.
Here we go.
That's actually going to be the engage. Destiny manages to find Mickey. He escapes for now thanks to Troy's Unbreakable, but Caedrel is caught out and dunked down. Alphari completely taking him out on the back end of the fight.
Nice hook.
And there's still an ultimate available for Xerxe's Gragas. Uptick goes all the way forward. That's the barrel. Beautifully done from Origen.
Oh, Mickey.
The slide glide. Emperor's Divide. Destiny's locked under the turret, but uses a stopwatch to stay alive. Ted's taken down by Expect, as well as one additional turret shot. It ends up being a 3-for-1 in favor of OG.
Oh, Mickey tries to be a hero right there, but not against the Soraka. Nukeduck healing up everyone in the face of Excel right there. They're going to be able to win out on the fight and turn straight for this Infernal.
I was so focused on Mickey getting caught out that I didn't see Patrik being exposed and jumped on by Alphari and Xerxe. That's what I'm going to be looking for this time around.
Yeah, they just turn it straight around because, again, it looks like the fight's toward the left, but it's Alphari on the flank, like I mentioned, finding those individual stragglers. So they're able to punish him pretty heavily, and then Upset goes for this dive in. Now, notice on the stopwatch, Nukeduck places the silence field. So when he comes out of stopwatch, Tori gets immediately rooted up and taken down there by Upset too, which is a really big deal.
Yeah, small naming error on my part. I think I said Patrik a few times. It was Caedrel that was caught out, of course. As I caught myself realizing, but nevertheless, just a fantastic team fight. And it's not the Soraka peeling backwards to heal that you talked about in draft. It was exactly what you explained. And when you've got all these champions running forward, if you can't deal with the threat and dissuade them, then Nukeduck's just sitting there, you get a heal, you get a heal, you get a silence and a root, and just pushing all the way through.
Right, basically it feels like if the start of the fight goes really well for Excel, right, they layer up everything, the fight's going to end very well for them. But if they don't quite connect on that initial mark, that's where OG are going to be able to really punish. Not just because of the dive, but also that healing, which you can already see Excel, like, we have to deal with that. They have double Executioner's culling because Nukeduck is a menace.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the fact that Camille, 3 kills of the Team 6, Upset, 2 kills of the Team 6, where you want the gold prioritized has landed on the Origen squad. And I think to a lesser degree, the comp is sort of built around landing those last hits with those carries.
Yeah, right now Alphari is sitting with the most gold in the game, exactly where OG want that to be. Now, one other thing I've noticed in OG's game plan is like a lot of times we see this like late game scaling comps, right? And like no surprise, people talk about that a lot. But OG sometimes have these strong side lane split pushers, and they haven't been able to execute them on that strategy like I would like to see from them. So especially in a comp like this, I'm going to have a very critical eye looking at Alphari and how much pressure he can get on the opposite side. Can he bring down 2 members of Excel? Can he split push, take towers while his team is threatening around the Baron? Those are going to be the metrics we try to look at.
I got a good feeling about Alphari this game, and seeing how it's played out, seeing how the trade patterns have worked, he seems to be on form, seems to, as Gragas would say, be feeling himself. And now we need to see if Origen can play around it, of course, because when you are going to play that side lane game, you can notice Upset in the top lane, Alphari down in the bottom. Nukeduck is going to be forced to flash away, puts the silence field down. Mickey escapes for the time being, and Upset is making his way south down the river. No further follow-up, but that's a flashless Soraka.
Yeah, OG just going to push out this wave and run up into the enemy top side of the jungle. They have a crab they can pick up, control wards to sweep away, and another red buff to fight over. Why not? They have Alphari coming in around. They catch out Torre.
It is a fire rift, and it is a red buff battle. That's a dash away, stand behind me. Torre yells, and the barrel won't knock him in the right direction. Caedrel goes way deep. There's no follow-up. There's no support. Finally, the bullet time comes down, but Patrik was simply too far away. Expect got locked up inside the baby cage, and he's not going to be taken down just yet. Upset holding on to that ultimate. I was wondering if he was going to dive in. Nobody goes down in the engage.
I mean, XL are just all over the place right now. Caedrel jumping forward without Patrik there, ready to throw down the bullet time either. I think OG can just start this Baron. They've been super cautious around this objective in the past, so they're not going to do it this time either round. But like, XL need to be communicating. They need to be together. Otherwise, these fights are just not going to work.
And it's such a basic thing, but when you consider the flag and dragon, the distance that it covers, combining that with, I think, a flash as well into Cataclysm, it's actually real difficult. Patrik's got to be theoretically ahead of you, right? To time that well, and we saw it panning out just a moment ago. Before we get to this next engage, match that will be coming up next, Fnatic versus Mad Lions. For anybody that follows Peter Dunn on social media, we do have very fun social media tweets. Peter, as hype as he is for the matchup between Kazi and Reckless, it's much more important to remind Selfmade and Nemesis where they came from. Fighting words. That game immediately following this one.
That'll be a good one for sure, but keeping our focus on this game at the moment, it is OG in control, you know, even down 2,000 gold. This is what I was talking about. OG have a really strong composition for running around as 4, especially with the Soraka and the immediacy of the engage of a Nautilus and Gragas. Like, they have the range to just sort of show a whole lot of threat whenever they walk in.
And until a second ago, Ender, item advantage was in favor of OG. Guardian Angel was just picked up by Alphari. Rageblade has been sitting with Upset for a moment or two, and as I've started saying this, Death's Dance and Infinity Edge were just picked up for Expect and Patrik. So those 2 items across the board, XL have not found the team fights they've really wanted. It feels like they've been disconnected to a degree, and now they're not in position to really challenge for this Infernal. It looks like Alphari can pick it up uncontested.
Dude, I think this is a good moment for XL to look for a fight. They have all their engage tools, they have the items, and there's no flash on Nukeduck. That is a really big thing to have missing here for OG. So right now, with Alphari soloing this away, XL, like, do they want to start up the Baron here? Because I would love to see them try to spot out Nukeduck and punish him.
Well, XL had no vision in the South River or the Dragon Pit. They've managed to push up into Baron, contest and challenge, place a couple of control wards themselves. Mickey is shoving top. He's got teleport available to him, and OG, after taking their second Infernal, they're now the ones sieging and putting pressure in the mid lane. Destiny's looking for a target. Dredge line, manages to catch on the Touré. Unbreakable is up and the bullet time comes down. But Patrik is almost insta-give. He's not down just yet. Finally taken out by Upset, who's forced to go into the back. The GA's been popped from Alphari. That's a golden Upset, but he's surrounded by members.
Look at the healing!
The healing!
What? They're going back in!
It's back to full health as Touré, who started the fight, is now running to try to end it. Mickey goes down, Caedrel goes golden. Touré is down, and Expect is the only man alive.
The dive comp is nasty from OG. Alphari and Upset both sprint into the backline and absolutely tear XL apart. It looked like it was going to be a close for a second, but the healing was just unmatchable.
Insane. Nukeduck has a license to heal as he goes 007 this game. Upset went from 20% to 100%. Exactly what you wanted to see from players of this caliber running this style of composition. Nukeduck was never truly under threat.
Yeah, we'll see it one more time because XL felt the pressure the time they were playing against, but they do get caught out at the start, and the bullet time goes down without Caedrel there to set up, so the damage isn't found. Then Alphari and Upset both jump into the backline and kill Patrik. The healing keeps Alphari up for a little bit, then comes the Zhonya's. Then when Upset gets dove on, again, it's all this stalling just to allow Nukeduck to get around, because with the heal on Upset as well as Nukeduck's W, that brings him to full. Then Alphari is back to full. Like, XL just have to be so frustrated right now because they simply do not have the DPS to cut through OG when their AD carry gets insta-gived.
I think, what was the words Yamato used earlier? You need eyes and teammates who know what they're doing. Was that the only 2 requirements?
Honestly, I was more focused on the bananas. So.
Well, this time around, Nukeduck's banana is not the most impactful, but still doing just
it's
such
having
a fantastic.
Big impact,
I mean,
Trev.
2,500 gold up, Baron secured, 2 Infernals, and Alphari's just hit level 16.
You can't stop him.
He hasn't needed to play the side lane game because OG have just found really good engages and punished XL every time they've started a fight.
Yeah, that's the thing though now. With the Baron buffed up minions in 2 lanes and Alphari on the side, he's always going to be there right there immediately. Or the threat of a hookshot on towards Patrik as he has to use the bullet time to clear the wave. So it is very clear XL not looking to fight here, just looking to hold on for as long as possible. And that's going to work because now the waves are desynced. So OG will have a wave in the mid lane way before that wave arrives in bot. But this tower should fall in this wave.
Yeah, I don't really see them being able to defend. Patrik is running away as Mickey almost gets jumped on by Alphari. I was waiting to see if the Hextech ultimatum would come out. The heal comes down from the National Infusion and no damage at all. Destiny went fishing, found nothing, came back with an empty shoe, and XL, they concede the inhibitor without losing more, but Expect has teleported in. So, minor correction, they lost the TP just to watch it go down.
It was a very suspect teleport coming through from Expect, especially since Mickey doesn't have it either. So Alphari with a TP of his own is going to run into the top lane and catch the wave while OG stay pushing down towards the bot side of the map. He's going to be there to arrive on any type of push. Could also TP to the front minion if that tower gets a little bit lower and they want to commit for that themselves. But this is just going to be OG waiting for the super minions in the mid lane, waiting for Alphari to set up that top lane push.
All right, let's see what happens here. The siege is moving forward. Bullet time is just a few seconds away. Mickey has just hit level 16. So we'll have ability to try push back. There's only 20 seconds on Baron, but this has just been very, very good. OG have got absolute control of the map. They've taken the inhibitor in the middle lane. They're about to push all the way up to the inner turret in the top lane, and they've got a number of options. If XL make any misstep at all, OG can engage and delete them in an instant.
Yep, that's going to be so hard for them to deal with here as the wave comes in towards bot side. They want to maybe ult Mickey away from this tower. It's going to go down not too quickly now that the Baron buff has gone away.
And of course, the engage is fairly telegraphed from XL. Is Jarvan nearby? Can Expect flank? And if the answer is no, that's why you can see Xerxe and Upset push all the way forward into 5 members of XL. They're just daring them to initiate.
Yeah, and Alphari has now also finished off the Spirit Visage, which doesn't make a lot of sense when you think he's laning against Aatrox, but it makes a whole lot of sense when you have a Soraka on your team. The healing coming in is going to get amped substantially, so Alphari should never be dying in these fights, especially once that GA comes back.
I mean, I heard you impassionately discussing item builds throughout the course of the day. Is this something that you like seeing within the context of the game, right? Like they're on the front foot, they're pushing forward, there's a GA.
Look, this is within the context of the comp, I think, right? Is like you have a Soraka on your team, obviously Mickey, the strongest member by far on XL side too, so I think there is a lot of reasoning behind this, and while I wouldn't normally condone the Spirit Visage,
it makes sense in this context.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what's important to know, and I like seeing that. It's not something you get to see too often because there are pretty fundamental rules of what is good and mathematically the best in most situations. It's one of those rare cases where it sort of benefits to move away. Look, third item is completed. Hurricane was now picked up for Upset to complement the Spirit's Visage. And it's just level 16 now for Upset. They've got all the tools they need to finish this game. They've got the gold lead. Baron is up in 1.5 minutes. The inhibitor will spawn fairly shortly, 2 minutes in fact. So for OG, if we know them, push the waves, farm this safely, play for one of the big objectives, and then look for the Nexus.
Yeah, OG are the team that's they're so focused on minions. And it's a good thing, right? Because like oftentimes you see them like build up CS leads and right, they're never gonna give up a whole lot, but sometimes too when like a wave is getting pushed into a tower, they're not really willing to push the envelope and say, we'll sacrifice the wave so we can get priority somewhere else. So in a game like this, that's something they've had to do because quite frankly, they haven't been able to play all 3 lanes because they have the Soraka in the mid lane. So it is just gonna be Alphari running around the map, now level 17 in this game too, just trying to pick up the absolute maximum.
All right, let's zoom out for a second because 35 minutes ago during draft, we started talking a little bit about how this game can give us an inkling, a little look into sort of matches towards, or like rankings towards the top of the table. If we assume that Fnatic G2 is sort of 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 contentious, OG looked very good yesterday. They're in control today. Where do we land on OG and XL?
Yeah, so this game very much meeting my expectations. You expect OG to have the advantage. Going to be able to get out of here no problem. And then XL is sort of this like borderline playoff team in my mind. So it was up to them to try and challenge. Here we go.
Well, it's Torre that once again gets caught out. Expect manages to get a little knock up from that Darkened Blade. The Sand Soldiers in the channel are going to do very well, but the threat of Alphari will send XL back in.
Yeah, Alphari just trying to push up in that top lane. Gets XL zoned away. Now they can go back over towards this Baron. Alphari with no TP now means he can't threaten me in that bot side, but instead is going to hover around the top side of this jungle. Wait and see if Mickey or Patrik miss position, because that's when they jump on them. Remember though, Mickey has a stopwatch, so XL do have some options to try and fight back.
Insane observation, guys. That's really good with the picture-in-picture for the Baron.
Here we go.
Visibility from XL. The barrel comes out. Turi's not down just yet, but Alphari is fishing, looking for a target. Baron's going low. This is so close. It was almost stolen, but it is Xerxe that does pick it up. Now in the ensuing fight, Wish has already been used, but the heals are not enough to keep Destiny alive. The damage follow-up is though Caedrel forced to run for his life. Mickey, you so fine. The Emperor's Divide inside the pit. It's locked Alphari against the wall. It is an XL team fight win, and Nukeduck is being run down. He's trying to run for his life, and the Baron will slow things down ever so slightly, but expect Mickey should be able to finish this off. Super minions in the mid lane. XL and Mickey, that was fantastic.
Specs just lived with sub 30 HP right there as the inhibitor falls as well. Minions pushing bot side too. That tower may fall. It's down to under 50% too. And now Alphari being healed up by the Soraka is back on the hunt.
Redemption on cooldown. Is Redemption snipe him with Redemption? The hook shot comes out.
Oh my god!
Alphari with the 1, 2, 3.
I love Soraka. Keep it in my games, dude. Alphari, the 2v3.
You do not get to watch that triple kill and respond with I love Soraka. But let's turn our attention back. 30-second death timers. Alphari and Nukeduck are pushing into the base, and there is minions pushing back.
Yeah, OG do not have minions in the mid lane just yet, so they're just waiting for them to come on in here. They're gonna have to wait a while, and in that time, Caedrel will for sure respawn. Mickey should come back up soon, but Upset with the ultimate ready to pounce. Xerxe too on the hunt, trying to run in here. They're looking for the end.
Caedrel's alive. He's got Cataclysm available. Patrick's got bullet time too. They both need to be flawless. But once again, Tori gets caught by the dredge line. Caedrel is knocked sideways, caught inside the baby.
You're not going anywhere.
Slam forward. Here comes Upset with the ultimate, and it is another quick set of kills as Destiny goes fishing, finds another member of XL as expect, gets pulled backwards. He's the last man standing. Once again, 0-0-15 for Nukeduck's 53rd unique champion, and Origen take down XL. I will acknowledge that that was a fantastic Soraka performance. But my word, did everyone else on Origen do exactly what they needed to do for Nukeduck to enable them to continue doing what they did.
Yeah, I mean, it was time after time OG trying to find that dive and that perfect fight, and they basically won everything. Apart from that one play around the barrier, it seemed like maybe it could be turned around, but that's where the Soraka backing Alphari's Camille was unbeatable. We were waiting for him to get his items to really come online, and then he was just too much to be reckoned with.
I think it'll be no surprise to everybody, but your key player of the game suggestions, go vote on Twitter at LEC. Alphari, Nukeduck, or Upset.
Dude, as a top laner, Alphari had 17 out of 18 kill participation. That is ridiculous.
I agree, and especially on a champion like Camille.